The voice of sharing Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene.
And this is Gowri. You're listening to our ABC News on Friday morning.
So today, this morning, actually we received a devastating news about the MH17. It was crashed in somewhere nearby Ukraine.
Yeah, actually the news came in last night at about 11 o'clock. It started spreading all over social media, over Twitter, in Facebook. And a lot of people were hoping that, just praying and hoping that it wasn't true, that it's just another rumor, another speculation. But then Malaysian Airlines themselves said on Twitter that we lost contact with this flight, and it's a possibility that maybe it crashed. Then the news became official.
Yeah, and it was actually the news was unofficially reported yesterday evening, but the major news outlets only picked it up later in the late at night. And I think we received the news a bit later, and a lot of the major news network, including international news, also reported about it. CNN, BBC, New York Times, and all that.
So it seems that there were more than 200 people on the plane, and so far there has been no news about the possibility of any survivors. And a couple of politicians also tweeted that they are still working on the case and they are looking for information, and they will update the people, of course, as soon as they have some information from a credited source, as opposed to just spreading speculations.
Yeah,
to
that's
the
true.
people.
I mean, I have to agree on you with that, because what I'm seeing now is Najib also was very quick in terms of the response towards the MH17. I think he got the experience of handling the issue of MH370, and with the MH17, Najib said that he demands a swift justice on the crash plane, because it was speculatively being said that the plane was being shot.
Yeah,
by a
and not only
missile.
was it shot, it was accidentally shot, and that is something that is nearly intolerable for them to shoot down a. I'm sure they should be able to tell the difference between a warplane and a civilian plane. They must have made contact with the pilot. Usually when you go into, even if it's a territory that is forbidden, they would still make contact with you first and ask you to identify yourself. You don't just simply see a plane and you just shoot at it. And
I think the situation in Ukraine and Russia, the bordering Ukraine and Russia, where the plane was crashed, is a very is an area that is very sensitive right now. A lot of Malaysians are not aware, but Ukraine right now is at war. I mean, it has been happening since quite some time ago, especially in the area of Crimea, where there's the issue of sovereignty, whether Crimea should be under Ukraine or should it be under Russia. And a lot of people are, I mean, the opinions of the people are mixed. So in that situation, people are on guard of themselves. Any planes, either it's commercial planes or jet planes, could be a potential harm to this group of people.
yeah, and I think they thought they were fighting terrorists, the Ukraine, but it was actually the Malaysian Airlines Boeing 777, and it was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. And the leaders of the rebel Donetsk People Republic denied any involvement, although around the same time, their military commander said his forces had downed a much smaller Ukrainian transport plane as well. And it would be their third incident this week, third incident where they shoot down a plane, but this is the most severe case so far.
I see. And in Time magazine, also they reported it quite extensively under the title Flight MH17, what the wreckage is already revealing. So what it stated that the operating theory is that a ground-to-air missile took out MH17 while it was in cruise flight at its assigned altitude, now being reported at 33,000 feet. And the evidence also they have also collaborates with the operating theory. So when an airplane crashes into the ground under power or as the pilots are trying to regain control, the scattering of the wreckage is always very contained, usually within an acre or so. There's even a video in YouTube that show the wreckage of the plane.
Yeah.
And a thick black smoke, coming out of the wreckage itself.
So the loss of MH17 is actually the second disaster for Malaysian Airlines this year, following the mysterious loss of flight MH370, and that one of course disappeared in March with 239 passengers on board. And also back in 2001, actually, Ukraine admitted that its military was responsible for shooting down a Russian airliner that crashed into the Black Sea, killing all 78 people on board.
What do you think of this whole saga of the MH17? And I think a lot of Malaysians, in my opinion, do not have a clear idea what is really happening there. So to them, and something that crashes the plane, especially coming from Ukraine, is something very shocking, because the issue within Ukraine, especially bordering Ukraine and Russia, is the situation there is very, very tense. The society there, they are actually at war, literally at war. So it is it is a situation that I think a lot of people are starting to opening up their eyes. They realize that, this is not something that we only watch it in the news. It's something real that we need to take notice about it.
Since the removal of their president, Viktor Yanukovych, through some anti-government protests, Ukraine actually called for fresh presidential elections on the May 25th. And like you mentioned earlier, the move was countered by the Crimea administration that voted for Russia to join in the referendum, but that was deemed illegal by the US and the EU.
Yeah, it's very divided, the support for Crimea to be part of Russia, partly because especially the US and EU, they are anti-Russia in a way, because Russia, just like China and a few other like non-conformist countries, they are seen as someone that is not part of their ally. So politically and strategically, it's not something that they would support Crimea to be part of Russia. And the history of Crimea is very, very interesting, because it is its borders has always been shifted, time and time again. At one point they were part of Russia, and at another point they were part of Ukraine, and it depends on which era you're talking about. So the situation there is very, very tense, and what the Ukraine officials say also, and it was actually revealed in the, if I'm not mistaken, the Facebook page of the Ukraine Prime Minister, if I'm not mistaken, that the plane may have been shot down by the Russian-made weapons.
Oh, okay. Because whatever it is, it was mistakenly shot down, and I think that's the part that most of us cannot accept.
I think nobody can accept, even both President Barack Obama, and also Ukraine President Poroshenko, because both of them, including our Prime Minister Najib, have called for investigation of the crash. So that's the majority facts of the MH17 crash.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait for some official sites, or maybe for our politicians themselves to tell us what's really going on there, and to do a follow-up with.
But this time I actually salute Najib, Prime Minister Najib himself, because from what I'm being seen, the news is barely 24 hours ago, but Najib already assembled his team in Sepang to actually discuss about the issue and also make a press conference out of it. And I think this is what a prime minister should be in such tense situation and devastating situation. In fact, the Malaysian Airlines also confirmed the whole shocking news of the jet, the Malaysian Airlines jet went down in eastern Ukraine by producing a statement, an official statement. And I think they also agree that the plane was shot down by a missile. So, Gowri, uh, out of all this, I mean, we just barely came out from MH370. Now we have to face another airline crashing, and we don't know who are these people. You know, the identity of these 200 more than 270 passengers. And I think it's something that I don't think Malaysian want to go through again.
It's true. I mean, it's a lot of people, 298 people, and they're, so far as we all know, they're all civilians. They could all be mothers, fathers, a son, a daughter, a teacher, whoever it is. And actually, last night was also my friend's birthday, and we were on the verge of celebrating it about 11:30 when we received this news, and then none of us had the mood to do anything anymore, because for the most part we were just hoping that it just, like, please let it not be true. And I think also Kyrie tweeted as well saying please let it not be true, but sadly it was confirmed by a lot of sources after that, especially by Malaysian Airlines. And I think it's definitely gonna be another great tragedy in Malaysia. A lot of people are feeling very down. Even this morning, everyone was talking about it, and they you can feel really bad, but I also feel really bad for their family, because it's so easy to just lose someone
It could be,
in a blink
it could
of
just
an
be
eye.
your friend or people that you know who is on board. And one thing interesting is it's not just Malaysians who were shocked about this, but the whole world, including Russians themselves. So the airplane carrying 295 civilians that crashed in eastern Ukraine garnered a lot of Russians, having this awe-inspiring moment in a negative form, because of this all this hysteria towards the MH17.
It's true, and it seems that they are blaming each other as well. The Ukraine officials are blaming the pro-Russia separatists, and Russia is blaming Ukraine. And I think
I don't think we can get any result out of this blaming situation. And I just want to quote a few of the Twitter that was being tweeted by a few Russians on this situation. One of it, his name is called Kashin. He said that now everyone is fucked. Another one is Alia Kirilova. She said that this is a complete clusteredness. And also a lady called Zlata, just please let's not start with the August came early this year. So August is notoriously a bloody month in Russian history. So past victims of the August curse include several plane crashes, wars, terrorist attacks, natural disasters, and so on. Some Russians have grown tired of the idea. So I believe it could be another huge event that is happening in Russia. So it's not just about the MH17. I think it would be something huge that would be happening within the Russian
definitely,
and Ukraine
I think
border.
this news has garnered worldwide attention, especially major countries like the US and also the EU. They have expressed concern over this issue, and they're also looking to investigate what actually happened there.
So naturally, not everyone is ready to hold the rebels responsible. Fast on Yoko's heels is pro-Kremlin figures Konstantin Rokov, which accused Yokos of rushing to judgment. So I think within their own country, they have some squabbles, like politicians, among politicians on this issue themselves. I think none of them want to take responsibility of the MH17 crash. So I guess we hope for the best in terms of the Malaysian team and the international team to possibility, get somewhat accountable to this crash.
Yeah, definitely. We are definitely hoping for an answer from the Russians as soon as possible, because people here, especially their family members, are just waiting to hear what really went up there.
Yeah, that's true. So moving on from MH17, another news from Malaysia is about something happening in Johor. So Malaysia will be charging foreign motorists which enters Johor, and was reported in China News Asia. I think this is mainly referring to the border between Singapore and Malaysia and bordering Johor. Malaysia on Wednesday announced that it will charge the drivers of all foreign vehicles entering Johor Bahru. So this is reported according to the Star. Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak said that the decision is to implement the vehicle entry permit fee following the request from the state. I think a lot of foreigners are starting to really getting their feet on Johor with Johor's development, and there's many entertainment there. I haven't been to Legoland and all that, but I think Johor is at a very exciting period right now.
It is, and there's also, I think we reported a couple of weeks earlier that there's a lot of developments going on there. They're trying to really bring up the place, and it's actually at a very strategic location because it's very close to Singapore, and it's pretty close to KL as well, and it functions as the center point for these two countries.
So one of the representatives from this country, Abdul Aziz, said that they are taking a bilateral approach only between Malaysia and Singapore, because only Singapore is imposing a VEP, or the vehicle entry permit, charge on Malaysian vehicles and not the other countries. I think it's definitely well justified. Like, we have to pay a certain fee to enter Singapore, but Singaporeans do not necessarily need to pay anything. And a lot of the times they come to Malaysia because Malaysia is way cheaper. It's like half price of everything.
And it's also
that
their
costed in
vacation
Singapore.
spot. During holidays, not only in KL, I think you see a lot of Singapore cars in Penang as well. They go as far up north as Penang, and like you said, it's cheaper. And I think I would like to add that the food here is also a lot more delicious than what you can get in Singapore. And but why is it not a two-way thing?
I think maybe on the Malaysian part, we were quite slow on this in terms of getting into our mind that the government can actually make money out of charging motorists. But at the same time, I think they are also catching up. I think they realize that they need to diversify their income. I mean, I'm talking about the state government of Johor, and I think this is one of the key area that definitely the state of Johor can diversify it. And this is actually reported by it's a statement being spoken by the Johor Chief Minister Muhammad Khalid Nordin, and he has said that the Johor government suggested a VEP, or the vehicle entry permit, charge of 20 ringgit, or for Sing dollar is just a mere $7.80. With 5 ringgit, which I think would probably be like $1.50, going to the state government, or $2 going to the state government for road maintenance. So for Singapore vehicles to enter through the causeway and the second lane, they just need to pay a mere $7.80 of Sing dollar.
So this is actually going to benefit the Singapore government a lot more than it benefits Malaysia.
Oh, why is that so?
Because we're not imposing the same charges.
Yeah, we are not, but they will be imposing it very soon. So I think this is definitely a very aptly way for Malaysian government to sort of make sense that this is something that they need to do. So I think with that, I think is definitely I would support the ban. And just to let you know, it will be effective on the August 1st in terms of the charging of 20 ringgit or $7.80 to foreign vehicles.
How are people reacting to this? Actually, do we have any information on that? Or
I think Malaysians are maybe not really that overwhelmingly aware, because is only for Singaporeans, and I don't think Singaporeans would mind either, because at the same time, just to let you know how much Singaporeans are charging us just to enter their territory, is the VEP charge of 35 Sing dollar, or from 20 Sing dollar, and Singaporean currency rate is double of Malaysia. It's just times two. It would probably be more than 40 ringgit or more than 50 ringgit in terms of per entry, and it's quite expensive. Thinking about just to pay 50 ringgit per entry. So I guess moving on from there, from Singapore, we talk about Thailand. Nearly 100 sickened by chemical leak near Thailand's eastern seaport. So more than 90 people, including primary school students, were sickened by a chemical leak from a Hong Kong ship in eastern Thailand on Thursday. And this was reported by Fox News. The hazardous flammable liquids leaked out of containers on the ship that was anchored at a dock in Linchabol Industrial Seaport in Chonburi Province, said Provincial Disaster Preventive and Mitigation Office Chief Suryanrat Suksap. And I guess this is really a critical issue because it affected more than 90 primary school students. But what else that you know about this news, Gowri?
I think most of them suffered from irritation on their skin, and some of them had breathing difficulties. And this is a very interesting news, I think, because we often get carried away by news about politics and economics, and people tend to overlook environmental issues. I think they don't give it enough importance as it should be given until something major happens like this, where 100 children are sickened by a chemical leak. Because going back to this is another another severe incident that has happened a lot over the years, not only in Thailand but also if you remember back then the major oil leak incident that happened in the BP oil Gulf. This is something that I think they should probably have more
sense of responsibility.
Yeah, sense of responsibility.
Especially it affected young people, and I'm not just talking about the issues with Thailand. I think all over Southeast Asia, we are not really that concerned with environmental issues. And I can just quote something that is just behind our backyard, and actually we covered it in one of our ABC ASEAN Breakfast Call show, and it's about the caviar project. We were discussing with this one representative from Eco Nights, and he highlighted an issue that not many Malaysians know, but is currently happening right now, which is the caviar project, where there's a commercial initiative to breed sturgeon fish. Sturgeons are fishes that you would find in areas where I think in mainly Mediterranean areas like and also Middle East like Iran and all that, where their main goal is to just get the caviar, which is the eggs of the fish, the fishes.
And that is like a luxury, a delicacy.
Yeah, it is actually mainly for the luxury market. So their target is for the rich. And I have a few speculation on this, which is why focusing on sturgeon fish. I think the Malaysian government is well aware that they can make a lot of money out of this. I think they are well aware that there are more and more rich people nowadays, and the rich are getting even richer. So their taste buds are definitely more refined than ever. So I think providing them with more options of the caviars would be the goal of Prime Minister Najib, I believe. But at the same time, they don't realize how much damage it would create, not just towards the ecosystem and the environment, but also the local community.
And I think all this like going back to this news, all this chemical leak is not, for now they are sickened, but it could also have a long-term effect on the health, especially them being children. It could have
the situation in Thailand that you meant. Yeah, that's true. Definitely on the long-term effect. The long-term effect is much more worrying. So in a way that I guess what we are concerned here is the long-term effects towards human beings and towards the environment is something that I think we should highlight, and the government and the civil society as well as the corporation themselves should be more concerned about it.
Yeah, it's not just about getting the money in, because I'm sure these large shipping companies could also try to just give them some money and cover this up, which is kind of what I read the BP the people did when the whole oil leak incident in the Gulf. But like you said, it's a lot more than that. You have to get past it. In the end, it's going to affect all of us, and we are the ones living on this planet, and our lives should be worth more than any amount of money.
Anyway, that's all for today. But if you want to know more about us and want to follow us, you can go to our Facebook and Twitter, durianasean.com. You can always, scroll through our website. We have a lot of different news on our websites and links to different news sources that you would probably want to know. And you can also listen to us live at our website, which is durianasean.com. And also, Gowri, if they are not in front of their laptops or computers, how can they listen to us?
I'm sure they have a smartphone, as a lot of people do these days, and they can just easily go to the Play Store and download our app. Not our app, actually. It's the TuneIn app. Then they can look for Durian ASEAN, and they'll
durianasean.com.
durianasean.com, and then they will be tuned into us. And apart from that, they can also get our newsletter every week if they will just drop us an email at durianasean@gmail.com.
Yeah, for sure. So for all of you listeners out there, thank you very much, and we definitely pray for the MH70's victims, and we hope that the authorities, Malaysians and the international authorities, can solve this issue as soon as possible, so there will be a fine closure for this. Thank you.